All right, it looks like we are live. So we'll kick it off. Welcome back to Rival Sports. My name is P. Here with Matt. We're gonna run through a bunch of topics, mostly talk about the MLB, NFL, and NBA off seasons, and obviously MLB at the break. Um, Real quick, Copa America wrapped up. Euros wrapped up. Do you have any kind of thoughts on what went down in both those situations?
The Argentinian team was incredible. Did you hear about the stadium at Hard Rock?
Yeah,
Like
absolute
7,000
shit show.
people rushed
Yeah,
the stadium, and I thought, oh man, that's crazy. Why are so many people trying to get in? The average ticket price was like $4,000, and the
also,
cheapest ticket was 21.
there's a lot of Colombians in that area, so they were like,
Right.
desperate to get in.
That was it was a it was a heck of a final. That the whole Copa America tournament seemed like bare knuckle FC compared to the Euro, which was like a crisp UFC event. Everything looked like a bloody match.
That's what it is. There's the European style, and then there's like the American slash like North America, South America style, which is way more aggressive. You're not faking, like you got shot when someone bumps into you. You get into the stands and beat up some fans. Like it's
It
pretty
was so
aggressive.
crazy. How many
It's
how many players went into the stands? Like seven?
a lot. Yeah, I didn't actually do it. It was something to do with like fans mistreating their families and stuff. Like what sucks is that the Common Bowl or whatever it's called that puts on like this Copa America, it's a crap organization. They did a shitty job organizing it. A lot of people are saying like, oh, the U.S. is not ready for the World Cup in 2 years. Like, pump the brakes. Our stadiums do big events. We got Taylor Swift all over this summer. Our fans behave appropriately. We weren't ready for a bunch of South American fans to treat the U.S. stadiums like they do their own. So I think it was a good test run in that they will have security in much better place. But they always were going to for the World Cup. The World Cup is a significant event. This is a minor tournament full of a bunch of mid teams. Argentina was one of the best. The rest, who cares? But yeah, it was sad to see. I love the Miami Stadium getting trashed. Don't get me wrong. That's a positive because if the Colombian fans aren't going to do it, I'm sure the Dolphins will trash it enough this year with play. But yeah, no, it was a crazy kind of last few games in that tournament.
It was nice to have a little break during the summer where you had a major tournament or you had games with major stakes. I'm not a huge international soccer fan, but anytime the tournaments come around, I try to watch every game. You see the best out of every player, every game in those tourneys. It's amazing.
I mean, I care more about the international stuff, obviously local and MLS.
Yeah.
I try to follow some of the European leagues, especially when like U.S. players are doing well over there. Obviously, a big Rex fan. Love that story. Love seeing them have a positive impact on the sport and that town. But yeah, I mostly follow when it's the international stuff, any chance I can get. So I was less into it this time around. I mean, Italy didn't do as well in the Euros, and then the U.S. was trash. And now we're going to see who their new coach is. I'm a little bit afraid that the UK coach just quit, and the U.S. might try to grab him. I don't know if he's a good fit for us. We had a bunch of other coaches, including the Canadian coach and other European coaches that are like, nah, we'll pass because they don't like the U.S. I mean, the U.S. system is trash and needs to be fixed. So a lot of these coaches are starting to call it out that they're not going to put their names on the line. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Any thoughts on the Euro finals?
Spain was incredible. It just absolutely incredible. Portugal should have been there. They had so many chances in their last match, and to lose it on PKs to France 5-3 was a brutal way to go out. But it's encouraging that after Ronaldo finally does retire, that the whole soccer program in Portugal is not going to die. They've got 5, 6 other strikers that are coming, and they're all really good, but they're all really small. There was I can't remember Conceição. He looks to be 5'4" out there on the pitch, and I don't know if you can win a Euro or a World Cup when your forwards are all under 5'9", but Portugal is going to try.
It's a small people sport. These guys aren't too big. There's a couple of big ones, but yeah, I hear you on the forward front. I was I have randomly have a bunch of English, like England and Scotland friends in Texas with me. So it was interesting to like have that experience where we went to a bunch of English pubs in the area that had good turnouts for the last 2 games. Last 3 games, actually. I was giving them garbage because one of the earlier games were like they got an extra 6 minutes in the second half that I really didn't think there was that much stoppage, and they were able to get that equalizer and then win in extras. I just kept beating up my English fans. I'm like, oh, are they gonna have to give you extra time in this game? They're gonna have to give you extra time. The bar was like nuts. It was pretty funny to see. We have one Spain fan as well, our group of friends. So like the whole bar was a bunch of like British people living in this area, and then like my one Spanish friend. And when they went ahead, he was going nuts, and then when they won, he was like talking smack. And it was kind of weird to see, because I feel like if that happened, if like I was at a Raiders bar and the Jets just like won the Super Bowl against the Raiders, which obviously they wouldn't play in the Super Bowl, but the AFC Championship game, and I was talking smack, like I would get murdered. Whereas like the British people were actually like walking out of the bar like not destroyed emotionally. And I'm just like, I was shocked by that, because like that would be so terrible for me to lose on that stage. And like it seemed like they like really wanted it, but like it's not the end of the world. And I'm like, man, I wish I wasn't such a diehard fan, because I get too emotional about friggin' preseason games.
The difference between the regional identity and the global. I watched Italy beat England in PKs a couple years ago in the Euro, and watching it with 2 good friends. One is Italian, one is English. And when England missed their first PK, I could see it wash over his face. He knew the end was coming. It was over, and Italy went on to win, and I watched him cry. And this is a friend of mine who's a diehard Warriors fan, diehard Niners fan, Giants fan, and I've never seen him get this emotional. When I say diehard Niner fan, you know what I mean.
Yeah, we know how fans are. They're only diehard when they're winning 12 games a year, but they'll be able to put their 1990s starter jackets back in plastic pretty soon, I think.
The 94 starter jacket.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into some topics. So baseball, like, what are your thoughts at the All-Star break? How do you feel like the season's going? I mean, there's some clear teams like the Dodgers that are just going to be monsters, and there are teams that are just below that, like, could have a chance. But, like the Yankees have come down to earth. The Mets are not dead anymore. The A's just destroyed someone recently. Like, what do you think of, baseball in general at the break?
Man, I love this MLB season. I think baseball's never been better. I'm watching a lot of Orioles games. Their shortstop is legit. Bobby Witt Jr. is legit. Ellie De La Cruz is my favorite player in baseball. The dude is so fast. We've got a little fantasy league going, and it's through Yahoo. And Yahoo has, down at the bottom, they've got these sit-start suggestions. And every Monday, it's telling me to take Teoscar Hernandez out of my lineup. Dodgers outfielder, former Ranger. He reminds me of the DH for hire that is going to hit 240, 245, hit into double plays when you don't want him to, but is going to hit 35 bombs. And as the season gets into August, September, and you're in the playoffs, he's going to be 0 for 8 and then hit a double that scores 2 runs and then hit a grand slam in the next game or something like that. But Yahoo's always telling me, take this guy out of your lineup. what's the outfielder from the Red Sox? I can't remember his name right now. Japanese outfielder came over recently, and Yahoo's always suggesting take Hernandez out. And when I leave him in, I'll go and check in the next morning if I miss a game. 1 for 3 with a walk and a home run, 2 for 4 with 2 doubles, and it's always producing, always producing. And look at that Dodger lineup, and it's just hitter after hitter after hitter after hitter. But if they run into a team like the Rays or the Orioles, I think they're going to have a lot of problems. Those young teams are stacked with talent right now.
Yeah, you talk about Yoshida on
Yes.
the Red Sox. Yeah.
I have not seen a single Red Sox game this year, and it makes me so happy.
Listen, I lived in Boston too long. I had to watch too much Red Sox during their like early glory years when I was still in college and after college. So I'm good not watching any of them.
You mentioned the A's, and they're a dumpster fire. I saw Mason Miller got the win in the All-Star game, and it's, this is the last Oakland Athletics player to play in an All-Star game. They're moving, going to Sacramento's an hour away. It's not like it's a crazy move. It's no further than the Niners moving from San Francisco to Santa Clara to play their games. It's crazy that they're going to change the name to Sacramento. But one thing they did do in the draft this year, they had...
That's just pettiness, dude. That's pettiness.
What? Oh.
That's being petty.
Yeah. The A's drafted a first baseman out of Wake Forest and a third baseman at LSU, and they both hit bombs. And so
nice.
if they're following the same formula of, hey, we're going to draft some guys like they did with Matt Chapman and Olsen and bring in a Marcus Semien and via trade and build this team, get to the playoffs, and every year they build not every year, every 4 years they build these juggernaut teams, low payroll, they get to the playoffs, there's a ton of hype, they've got some good pitching, they've got some guys that hit bombs, and first round exit, wild card exit. But I mean, if these 3-4 guys that they drafted in the draft, a shortstop, a first baseman, a third baseman, and an outfielder, if they can somewhat pan out, the A's are just going to continue to do it again, where they bring up some of the best young talent, and then there'll be a Brave, there'll be a Red Sox, there'll be a Yankee, and they'll play in October.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I hope there's better days ahead for your guys. I mean, it's not an ideal situation, but it'll be interesting with the Vegas move. I think at least the stands will be full finally. It hasn't been like that in years. All right, let's jump into the All-Star game, the All-Star festivities that happened this week. First thoughts on the worst national anthem ever sung. You see that girl's going into like rehab?
Yeah, I saw that. And
I mean, I don't mean to laugh at it, but like you could see the fear on her face while she was singing. I felt so bad for her. Like she got clearly wasted because of the nerves, and like that is, man, like there's ways to hit rock bottom. Doing it in front of like millions of fans is not ideal.
I've never heard of her. And when I saw the video and I was listening to it, and it starts out Grammy nominated, my first question to my wife was, is she Grammy nominated with auto-tune?
Dude,
what is that? My 4-year-old sings better than that. It was terrible.
They like zoomed in on players who were like laughing. It was just brutal, absolutely brutal.
Who was the NBA coach that went out to help Fergie?
Oh yeah,
was it Byron Scott?
I think so.
They're like trying to coach a singer through rhythm, and not something I expected.
Yeah.
Who do you think would have been the best player to go out there? Do you think Jose Iglesias was there? Because he could have gone out and saved her at the All-Star game.
Dude, he performed. He performed that stupid "Oh My God" song. Yeah. Dude, he's getting his money's worth out of that song. He performed during something. I think I saw it. I think it was the opening of the home run derby or something. Yeah, he's getting his money's worth out of that 15 minutes of fame.
Fantastic.
Hey, it's a banger, man. That's a song. I don't even know whether to call it the All-Star game. Sorry, go ahead.
Did you see KG losing his mind over Timmy Trumpet?
I sent that to you. I sent that to you.
Oh,
that was
it's such a good
thing
video.
where he was showing it to Paul Pierce. I don't think he realized it because that was from 2 years ago, like a year ago. Whenever the hell he wasn't injured 2 years ago. Yeah, that was so funny. I mean, KG and Paul Pierce are very funny when they're together. But yeah, I mean, back to the All-Star game, like I don't know what to call it the All-Star game or just like the Shohei Ohtani tour. Because like he just like decimated the whole game. I mean, the only real highlight is like his home run. But dude, he's just having like historic performance coming off of like a decent injury. Obviously, it's not the career ender it used to be, but he's having a big year. He's not pitching this year, but he's batting like crazy.
He's I mean, it's still Tommy John, and he's so big and strong, and he's swinging from the left side that there's still going to be torque on it. I mean, I'm impressed that he's still hitting as well and mashing. The home runs are not cheapies.
No. Yeah, he's just locked in this year because he's not gambling on the side, so he's just very focused. Allegedly.
Allegedly, so I've heard. I'm going to the Giants-Dodgers game on Monday.
Nice, that'll be fun. That'll be a good game.
Yeah, we'll see if I can catch a few at bats of Shohei, Teoscar, and then Mookie. Is Mookie still hurt?
I don't know actually. Hopefully not for your sake. So he actually had. Yeah, I mean he's MVP caliber this year. He's batting like 316. He's got 30 home runs. He's leading several offensive categories, and then he had some historic thing the other night. I think he's the first MLB player in the history to earn a win on the mound and home run at the plate in his All-Star game career, which is kind of a rogue stat, but you don't see people pitching and hitting as much anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And when he comes back, he's going to be throwing 100 again. It's not just that he gets on the mound and throws the ball. He's moving it up, down, left, right, hitting every corner, tons of movement, and throwing 100.
I don't understand what happens. Like, I mean, I guess he got the money, but like, how much more valuable are you? He got everything, so I guess he got the value. But like, how valuable are you as a player that you can do both really well? It's just nuts. Like, it's so not common anymore.
Did you see the kid? I think he's at Mississippi State or Texas A&M. Maybe those colors sound familiar. Pitches both sides. He's got an ambidextrous glove.
Yeah.
He's throwing super hard from both sides. How much is that kid worth?
Well, that's why, you haven't seen it ever, but I mean, maybe at like lower levels, but like in the NFL, if you had a QB, like that could switch it up based on how people are lined up. I mean, that would mess with the offensive linemen. The right tackle immediately becomes like way more important. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
The A's had a switch pitcher named Pat Venditti, and there was a rule. So there's now they limit the number of times a switch pitcher and switch hitter can change sides during one at bat. So the ambidextrous pitcher can't throw two sliders from the left side and then come back and throw a fastball from the right side, which would be electric if you have just this washout Randy Johnson slider from the left and you got 103 in the right arm and you're just like, good luck hitting this and bang, piping it. It would be amazing.
Oh man, that would be sick. That'd be so sick. All right, let's move on to the NBA. What are your thoughts on like free agency so far? We kind of talked about it a little bit. with what went down with your Golden State Warriors and Klay Thompson. But what are your thoughts on some of the moves across the league?
Have you seen what the newest thing is with the Warriors? Lauri Markkanen deal?
No.
So I believe the Utah GM is Danny Ainge. I believe.
Yeah.
Let me double check that. Nope, Justin Zanuck. Where is Danny Ainge? General manager of the Boston, former general manager. Where's he at now? He's an executive for the Jazz. Okay, so right now, the ask from Utah is Moses Moody, Podziemski, Jonathan Kuminga, and 3 or 4 picks and pick swap, some combination for Lauri Markkanen. And the Warriors have countered with Moses Moody and every pick you can take. Jeez. And it's just been in this standoff for a week and a half. And if Markkanen comes for Moses Moody, suck to lose Moody, because he's somebody that could turn into an Andre Iguodala, a Andrew Wiggins, not your first option, but a great third option and a good defender, very physical, big guard, but going to give me 6'10" power forward Lauri Markkanen that can shoot 40% from 3 and play inside the paint. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But outside of that move, I mean, Paul George going to Sixers, man, they're not going to.
4 years, 512. So, it's a good amount of cash.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, 212, 4 years, $212 million.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what Paul George is done to make $50 million a year in that league.
Perennial loss in playoffs. It's locked in. The Warriors made big moves acquiring Buddy Hield.
He's got
in a signing trade.
He's shooting at a higher percentage than Klay was, and so if you're gonna do, I didn't want to see Klay go, but if you're gonna fill that spot with anybody, that was the best option available.
What's the deal with Klay's contract? Like, he's not worth more than 3 years, $50 million.
You mean from the Warriors?
No, that's the Mavericks deal, isn't it? 3 years, $50 million.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Weren't they talking about Klay being like the leader of the team going forward for the Warriors a few years ago, and now he's only worth $50 million? But you got Paul George making $212. Like, I know Klay's not at that level, but he used to be like, legit. I mean, maybe wasn't the players around him, but I don't know. With all the money thrown around the league, for him to be making like relatively that little money is kind of shocking to me. But it's interesting the move to Dallas over. I know his dad really wanted him to go to the Lakers.
Because he's a color or the radio color guy for Lakers. I don't know what the issue with the league and Klay is. He was giving you 20 points a night. He didn't want to come off the bench. And the last report, like right after he was traded, that came out, is that he was upset the Warriors extended Wiggins and Jordan Poole before him while he had a torn Achilles.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I wanted the Warriors to keep him, and I wanted him to be there, but it sounded like it didn't matter what the money was, that he was going to leave, that he was done with them as leadership, as an organization. And I don't know if that's on Dunleavy or on Bob Myers. But, Bob Myers getting out of there to go into TV, who knows how long he's going to be with ESPN before he gets back into another GM job. Because he did a fantastic job building that organization with Jerry West. But I mean, you can see why Bob got out. Like, there were tough decisions to be made. And when you've got 3 guys, Steph, Klay, and Draymond, that Steph is telling you, like, hey, I want to finish my career with these guys, do whatever it takes to make it happen. And they're saying, hey, we want to move on from some of these players. I guarantee they wanted to move on from Draymond and keep Kevin Durant. I would have wanted to keep Kevin Durant and Steph together. That was electric every time. Right? And you can't count on Draymond to be in the game. There's so many times. And he even admitted to it on his podcast that when he didn't feel like playing or if Steph wasn't playing that night, Dre would do anything to get tossed in the first 5 minutes so that he didn't have to play.
I've always had issue with him, and I know like Warriors fans love the guy so much. Like I love that he's an enforcer, but he's also an idiot at like critical times that has cost them at the highest level. So like I'm so torn on him because I like the aggressiveness. He takes it too far, but you need that kind of guy. Like that's a little bit old school basketball. I think he was an important part of a lot of their championship runs.
Incredibly important.
But yeah, he also would screw you at the wrong time.
When he's on the floor telling all the young guys who don't understand the system where to be, that's invaluable. Without Draymond, the Warriors don't win the titles, but kicking LeBron in the nuts, choking Rudy, as much as the league hates Rudy Gobert, like, man, it's crossing a line. No, you hate the guy, but he crosses the line too many times. And when it took Steph crying to him and saying, we can't win without you, like, what are you doing? And it took that much. It didn't matter what anybody on ESPN or Fox or blogs, YouTube, nothing. It didn't matter what anybody said. It had to come from the one person that had been urging him to calm down in his polite way, and he had to lose his shit, like parenting. It was like Steph had to parent Draymond. Like, you're hurting me doing this.
Yeah. Oh man. All right, let's run through a couple other folks. We have DeMar DeRozan to the Kings.
I like that.
Chris Paul to the Spurs. Harden re-signs with the Clippers, 2 years, $70 million. Like James Harden at this point is making more than Clay, but I don't know. He is still pretty good. It'll be interesting to see. Like, I don't know. There's a few players that haven't done anything. Tyus Jones, Markelle Fultz. So see where they end up. Isaiah Hartenstein. I really wanted him back with the Knicks. We can't have everyone, but he kind of got paid. 3 years, $87 million. That's pretty legit for him, man. He parlayed a fun season for the Knicks into some serious cash. We'll see how that is. Speaking of the Knicks, they've been – I don't know if they've been doing the most work this offseason, but it certainly feels like it. They re-signed OG, 5 years, 5 year, $212 million.
That's a huge get for you guys.
What was that?
That's a huge get for you guys.
Yeah.
You got OG and Bridges that can defend really well. Josh Hart that's going to defend really well. Who's going to play center?
Working on it. No.
Okay. It's July. I was asking.
Yeah, I mean, so this deal. So there's a 5th-year player option, and there's a trade kicker if he ever gets traded. That they didn't release the stats on that, but it's the largest contract in Knicks history, surpassing records set by Carmelo Anthony and Julius Randle, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, Julius is still there, isn't he?
Yeah, Julius Randle's still there. Yeah, Bridges, the trade was crazy. You rarely see, I mean, no one gives a crap about the Nets. I would say the Knicks have 85-90% of the New York market, and the people that like don't like themselves root for the Nets. But it was interesting to see them do that trade. I mean, obviously the Knicks gave them a ton, 4 unprotected first-round picks in 25, 27, 29, and 31. I don't even know if I'll live that long. 1 unprotected first round in 2025, unprotected pick swap in 28, second round pick in 2025. Like, I don't know if the Knicks have any picks in 2025. So that's pretty crazy. But, I also think a big part of them getting him and having the flexibility to get him was, the deal that Brunson signed. I mean, it's unheard of in sports what Brunson did for us. He took a year. If he had waited a year, he would have made 113 more million.
Mm-hmm.
So he turned away 130 million. He's still getting paid 4 years, 156 million. Nothing to sniff at, but that's a significant pay cut for him.
How old is he?
For a team, he's still young. And the one thing I thought about is, like, I think there's something where now the next contract he goes for can be like a 10-year supermax.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's going to be poor. But last year when Rodgers took 35 million pay cut, that was the biggest, pay cut in, sports history. Nobody does that. And not that Braun took a pay cut, but to take that much less to make sure he could bring in his buddies, to make sure the team can, have all the pieces they need to compete with the Celtics in the East. I really think it's the double D's in the West. Denver and you have Dallas, I think, are both going to be really strong next year. And then I think it's the Celtics next year. I think we will continue to add, we will continue to improve, and we will be very competitive with the Celtics. So we'll see how it goes.
There's always a team in the East that's your boogeyman, and that's the Heat. It doesn't matter who's drafted, who's traded there. The Heat will scrap together a team, and they will give you guys fits in the playoffs. Jimmy just got brutally injured, that knee swelled up, and he couldn't continue. He had no running mate this last year, but if Pat Riley works his magic, the Heat are going to be right there, and they're not a favorite. I'm not saying they're a favorite. The Knicks have put together a better roster right now. The Celtics are an amazing team. Pat Riley always figures it out, though.
I have some technical issues over here. Give me a second. I have another window playing, and I don't know if you can hear it on your end.
I can hear you.
Do you hear the background noise?
Nothing.
All right. Well, I'll try to power through hearing two things. Give me 1 second. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to chat about, NBA wise, is have you been watching Summer League at all? How you feeling about Baby Braun's performance?
Bronny, I love Bronny being in the NBA. I love how mad it's making people. I don't care if he's ready. I don't care if he's good. I don't care if he's the next coming of LeBron. I don't know that we're ever going to see somebody with the skill set of LeBron playing 20 years, 21, 22. He can keep playing and play with Bryce. I think it's amazing. I saw something last night. He's got the exact same numbers. This is from Gilbert Arenas, that he's got the exact same numbers through his first 3 Summer League games that Jaylen Brown had. And Jaylen Brown was courtside talking shit about Bronny. And then Jaylen Brown had to walk it back because he got caught on a hot mic. That sucks that he got caught that way. He didn't just come out and say it, and then somebody checked him on it. It's all, somebody else was over in the corner, the Donald Sterling situation. He's just mouthing off and he gets caught. And it sucks that it wasn't on record saying, I don't think this kid is good at all. And then somebody else like Gilbert Arenas could come in and say, hey, you shot 5 for 36 in your first 3 games.
Listen, it's hard for these athletes out there. It's not like back in the day where players weren't always being recorded in public, weren't always had eyes on them everywhere they went, everything they say, everything they do online. I mean, a lot of them play into it. Like you see Rodgers talking about, his old buddy and how much news just gets like drawn out by it. But it's crazy now. There's no privacy for these guys. Like everything they say is going to be kind of, everyone's going to talk about it the next day. So that was a little bit brutal. Poor guy.
Watching a highlight. Let me see if I can find this kid's name. I haven't watched any of the Summer League games. I don't have any time right now. But the Warriors have They have a dude that's going crazy right now.
Yeah, I did see that.
What is this kid's name? He's on a two-way deal. Man, I can't find the video. Oh, here it is. Daquan Plowden, 6'6" guard. He went for 19-2 with a steal. And the highlight, it's nasty. He's coming down the baseline and poster. Oh, if the Warriors can find a backup, if they can find a backup to Steph without having to go get Fultz, I'll be happy. But if they can land on Fultz as a backup, I like that.
Yeah.
He didn't live up to the number one overall pick. Okay, whatever. The league is hard. The margin for being Jason Tatum to, a backup guard is not as big as we think it is. Those games are super tight in the margins all the time. So if your backup to Steph can get the ball around and can play some defense, fucking great.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. I think NBA just keeps getting better every year. I've watched a lot of NBA in my life, but I've never really had a team that I truly thought could do anything. So I'm hopeful this year. I know it's still tough. Again, Dallas and Denver are super strong. The Celtics proved that they are a beast to mess with. I would like them to not win anymore, so it'd be even better if the Knicks could beat them in the playoffs or in the Eastern Finals. But yeah, man, just going back to Brunson, like I love this guy. Everyone in New York loves this guy. He shows up to any sporting event. People are cheering for him. He takes his pay cut. He shows that he wants to be there. He's bringing all of his friends in. He wants to win. He wants to be here. And I know it's all in the family. His dad's involved, and his agent is the GM now. His agent's the GM's son. But I think he's already surpassed Carmelo in terms of like people's love for him. And Carmelo was here way longer. But if he wins a title with the Knicks, he will be up there as one of the most beloved Knicks of all time. The likes of Allen Houston, Oakley, Earl the Pearl, all these guys, Frazier, Ewing. But in terms of like New York sports icons, same with Rodgers. Like with the Jets having this just drought of success since the 60s, only having one title. If either of these guys, the Knicks and the Jets, man, they've just had such big droughts. If either of them wins a title in New York, they're immediately up there with like the Ruths, the Mantles, Jeters, Namaths, like who else? Seaver, Robinson, Messier, like they're up there with all those New York icons. Messier did for the Rangers what I need Rodgers and Brunson to do for the Jets and Knicks, respectively. So I need it. Injected into me.
Jalen's doing it as a 6'2" guard.
Yeah.
And he's doing it at the rim, which is what New York loves about Jalen Brunson. But I didn't know he's going to be 28 at the end of August. And so if he's on a 4-year deal, was it a 4-year deal or a 4-year extension?
4-year deal.
4-year deal. So he'll be 32 when that deal comes up. He did a huge favor to New York. I thought he was more like 26, in that when he turned 28, he'll be able to get extended for that long-term contract. He's going to be 30 by the time he's eligible for an extension, and they're going to extend him 2 more years to put him at 34, maybe 3 to make him 35. At that extension, at what, $65 million a year? If he stays healthy through the next 2 seasons, I can see him getting a 3-year extension, making it 5 years. He's done at 35 on that contract. I could see the Knicks doing that, but if there's any shakeup, man, $130 million, man. Jalen, you're doing incredible things, but that's a big number to leave on the table.
113, but still a big number, and we appreciate it. We already want to build statues. We just need that ring
Can you imagine beating the Celtics, Madison Square Garden, Game 7, and Jalen Brunson with a a steal and a dunk or a steal and a layup to put the game out of reach? New York would
Dude,
burn.
when the Knicks win a first round game against a shit team, outside the stadium, there's people with crazy videos. Like it's there are a lot of states, there are a lot of places that have multiple teams. I really feel like 85-90% of the city is the Knicks, and they want it and they get excited about it. The parades for the Knicks and the Jets, if it ever happened, man, none of those people will ever have to buy a drink in their lives. Like a lot of fans are either Jets or Giants, Yankees or Mets, and you either have a good experience or a bad experience with sports. But like everyone's a Knicks fan. Only some people care about the Rangers, but like everyone loves the Knicks. So it'll be really cool to see. All right, let's jump over the NFL. Have you been watching Netflix's Receiver or like the Hard Knocks?
No, I've been hearing all about it. It's another time thing. I'd rather watch Kill Tony than Receiver.
Yeah,
it's all guys that I like. I mean, Devontae's on it, George Kittle's on it. You would think that I would tune in, but I know what it's going to be, and I don't care to. I don't want to get overly excited watching highlights of Aiden O'Connell throwing fade routes to Devontae. I like a real quarterback in Vegas, but it's just every time there's an episode that drops, I wake up the next morning and all the aggregators have a picture of Devontae with this person. The most recent one I think you told me was Boomer Esiason, saying, there's a package that's out there, and the Raiders like the package from the Jets. And then yesterday or day before, there was a post from an aggregator citing a Instagram account called Pretty Ricky something, and that, this guy has scooped all the NFL insiders a bunch this offseason. I'm like, it's fucking July. It's fucking July. All right? Like, I know we're all yearning for this season. I can't wait for it to get here. As soon as the NCAA game came out, all I could think about is, oh, man, what team would I play with? What historical team? Oh, the Rainbow Warriors. Oh, Tavon Austin in West Virginia. Tim Dwight. That would be a great team to play with. Maybe Eric Crouch in one of those Husker teams. Cam Newton team, a Tim Tebow team. I'd love to see all those years that we lost from that game. And then you just get the wheels turning about, oh, man, have you seen Zamir White? Zamir White looks like he's going to run through every linebacker. And then I start to get overhyped and wake up the next day. Devontae's traded again. Or I saw today from one of those aggregators, Sauce Gardner is the most overrated player. If you watch him on tape, you can call holding on him every play. Shut the fuck up.
Nobody throws to Sauce because he's the friggin' best. You can't throw his way. No, it's funny this time of year because you had mini camps. Now we have this like lull where you have really not a lot of sports. You have training camp not starting yet. A lot of people have already been signed. There's just nothing to talk about. Like they're still talking about Aaron Rodgers missing 2 days of camp to be in Egypt when he went to every single non-required practice this offseason, and he's been around the team forever. It's hilarious. But I mean, the NFL is my number one sport. The Jets are my number one team. I listen to a minimum an hour of Jets content a day, every day of the year, which is insane. I doubt most people do that. So I'm ready for the season because I follow Jets YouTubers daily, and it's like what they have to pull out of nowhere to talk about the Jets every day. But there's always something going on in the NFL. Like the NFL really doesn't have an off season, but we're just at this point where we just need camp to start. We just need games to start. I need to start planning my trip to London to see the Jets stomp Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings.
Right. If the season were to go to 18 games, here's what I would like is that they play 6 games, break, 6 games, second break, finish.
Everyone break?
Everybody bye week, same time. I don't know if it's possible.
No, the NFL would not do that. The NFL needs to make money every week, my friend.
So
It'll stagger it.
to that, the NFL is making a ton of money today, and it's July.
No. You know they're not going to skip a week of the NFL season, but they will go to 18 games. There will be 2 bye weeks. It'll extend the season perfectly where the Super Bowl will be a holiday weekend so everyone can enjoy themselves. I still feel like the Super Bowl should be on Saturday night.
Why is it
But
not on Saturday? They play games
Thursday.
Thursday.
Like to go out when for the people that don't actually care about the NFL, but they will go to a friend's house to hang out and watch for the ads or for the halftime show. Mm-hmm. They want to capture those people. People don't have stuff to do on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. If the Super Bowl is a main option, if it's Saturday night, I got stuff to do on a Saturday. So they never will, but that's why it'd be so awesome if the season extended where the Super Bowl was that holiday weekend where, everyone has Monday off and, the winners can celebrate even harder. The losers can lick their wounds the next day and not have to hold their head in shame in the office. So, I hope it goes that way. These players they can play an extra game.
The next time the Super Bowl is in Arizona, I highly recommend going to the Waste Management that same weekend. I went 2 years ago for that weekend. Oh, dude, far and away the best party. We're walking through between the 10th tee or walking through the 10th hole. It's like a little elevated tee box at TPC Scottsdale Doglegs, right? It's a par 4, so it's not super long. And as we're walking through the middle of the hole, here comes Taylor Lewan, here comes Will Compton, and all the busing guys. And then you walk a little bit further, and there's Ronnie Lott talking with Tim Brown. And it was just, it's like, have you ever gone to Summer League?
No.
No? Summer League's an awesome experience as well. But there's so many players from when we were kids that are there for the Super Bowl festivities that they go to the tournament. I don't know how many of them are big golf fans, but it was wall-to-wall athletes last year there. Summer League is super cool because there's no assigned, I don't know if it's changed, but before there was no assigned seating. You get a ticket and you have a ticket for the day. And so we went in one year and we got there as soon as tickets went on sale, $35, got our tickets, went back to the hotel, gambled, went swimming, hung out, went back for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's first Summer League game. I believe it was against the Lakers. I think it was against Lonzo. And we sat second deck, like around nobody for the game right before it. And as soon as that game clears, they need 10 or 12 minutes, clean the floor, clean the water bottles, just get the game ready for the new teams. So a bunch of people clear out to go to the bathroom. And we went down, I sat on the floor, that's first Summer League game, $35. And walking into the arena at Thomas and Mack, there's a big circle of people. David Aldridge is holding court, signing an autograph here, taking a picture there, talking about the game. I walk another 10 feet, Charles Oakley standing there in a suit with a damn briefcase. And you walk a little bit further, and you got the TNT guys in just plain clothes hanging out, watching Summer League. Juwan Howard, before he became the coach at Michigan, is hanging out, trying to talk to people, and nobody wanted to talk to him. So he takes a hard right, goes into the Crown Royal bar, and is hanging out in there by himself. And I was like, man, I got to go say hi to Juwan Howard. And that's all it was. Like it's a flea market of basketball nostalgia.
Yeah. No, it's nuts. I got to get to that. I've done like preseason baseball, but I think basketball would be a lot more fun.
It's just like I think it's better than our March Madness trip to Vegas is, because
Shut
hey, that year at the
it's okay to be wrong, Davis. It's okay to be wrong.
Fair. But we were watching all those games at a bar. You can see all these games in person. And when there's somebody, a new draft pick that's electric that you want to go see, it's hard to beat that.
Yeah. I'll take degenerate drinking all day long at a bar in Vegas, having to eat 5 pounds of king crab legs just to hit our minimum, parlaying it into a night of debauchery. Yeah, I'll take that. You know, how many games those first few days, the crazy parlays we can do. There's nothing like the first weekend, especially the first few days of March Madness. There's nothing like the freedom we had before we had children.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, it is okay to be wrong.
Don't take those days from me, Davis. I will always look fondly on them. Just going back to the Hard Knocks stuff, one thing that was kind of interesting, as much as I don't care about the Giants, I wish they would, go away, and I wish the Jets would be in a new stadium, not involved with them whatsoever, in Queens. But the behind-the-scenes view of the whole Saquon Barkley stuff that went down, the negotiations, and them even talking before it happened, like I really can't see. It would be really hard for, like, one of the owners, I think Mara, being like, it would be so hard to see Saquon on the Eagles because, he is our most popular player. To see him talking like that and to see them talk about how important Saquon is and then thinking what he wants in terms of value is too much and then letting them go to a division rival is like, pretty interesting content. So, worth a look even for just like the short clips. And it just brings up a question, like are running backs making a little bit of a comeback in terms of value? Like obviously, McCaffrey is so valuable as a dual threat catching and receiving. I think Breece Hall is going to be, he was up there. He was number 2 in terms of combined yards behind McCaffrey last year. I think he's shooting for number 1 this year if Rodgers stays healthy. And he will eventually, in the next year or two, have to, the Jets going to have to figure out that they pay him. There's a bunch of running backs that have a big impact on the game week in, week out. So I'm just wondering, like, are they making a little bit of a comeback in kind of their value, or at least the top guy is going to get paid?
I think the top guys get their money. I said a couple of years ago before Mostert went to Miami that the Niners needed to pay him. And I don't know if you remember in that group chat, I got laughed at, and I was told the Niners can do it with whoever. They couldn't do it with
the Niners can do no wrong.
They did it with the best in the league as far as dual threat right now. But Raheem led the league in touchdowns, I believe, last year with the Dolphins. There's a few guys that I think are worth their money. The Raiders not paying Jacobs. I don't know that I'm so upset about that because he was already creating waves, and he's a young guy, and he acts like a young guy. And so him going to Green Bay for, I think, $1 million more per year, it's like, okay, go ahead. But the one that you haven't mentioned at all, Derrick Henry's a Raven.
Yeah. I mean, the Ravens need that threat. They got health out of the quarterback last year for the first time in a while, which was a big reason they were very competitive. But it can't just be all him. So if they can have like a significant running game, like that's a dangerous team.
Yeah, it's gonna be run left, run right, run left, run right. But man, Derrick Henry with Lamar Jackson is gonna be just insane.
But it's like, you saw it last year with the Jets where the line got injured and then they have like the worst quarterback room in sports. They're just stacking the box. And that's why it was so amazing what Breece Hall did last year with how bad the quarterback play was, because there was no threat of the pass. There was no threat. But when you have a little bit of a threat at the running back position and then you have threats at wide receiver position, it just opens everything up. And watching it last year, just seeing how like half of the game can be taken away because the quarterbacks are such trash, even though like Garrett Wilson's wide open on every single play, no one can get him the ball. So they just stack the box. It's like, it's really important. And I think it's really important for the Ravens. They can't have Lamar running everywhere and possibly getting hurt. They can't rely on his arm being awesome always. And they can't rely on the line all the time. They lost some players there. So, it'll be good to hopefully get a good year out of Henry.
You haven't been able to rely on the offensive line in your lifetime.
Dude, the last 2 years, the Jets have had 13 different offensive line combinations. 13. And I like the plays they brought in this year, but, Tyron from Dallas, like he's never played a full season in a long time. So I think they're going to be very creative with, how they handle the line this year. But we can go into that when we talk training camp previews in a week or so. One thing I saw today about the Jets, your boy Derek Carr, he revealed that he considered signing with the Jets, obviously, last year. It just wasn't the right time for me. Honestly, I never thought Derek Carr could be the final piece. Definitely anything's an upgrade over what the Jets have had forever, but especially the last few years. I think just in general, the town of New Orleans is kind of like a decent fit for Derek Carr. He's a religious guy. It seems like that that good Southern atmosphere is kind of a good fit for him over like the lights of New York City. So I don't blame the Jets for not being more aggressive to get him. I mean, they ended up with who they wanted, and I couldn't see Derek Carr in New York. So I think that he was trash last year anyway, but I think New Orleans is a good fit for him. So good luck to him.
He threw for a bunch of yards, and the year that he was balling, and they were 12-2 Christmas Eve, and they beat Indianapolis. The game was in hand. It was Christmas Eve. I was in the box that day, and then he was out there for a nothing play, broke his leg or broke his back. I think it was the leg first and then the back the next year. He just hasn't been the same aggressive player. And when he gets out of the pocket, you're like, all right, waiting for him to run. Wasn't as fast as Alex Smith when he was healthy, but he would scramble. And after the injury, he stopped doing that. He stopped making the same throws. He started getting really cranky. Just, I was happy he got to move on. I wish they would have filled that spot with somebody more mobile, not less mobile.
Yeah, I feel you. Jumping on Devontae real quick, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but the way I see it is right or wrong, and obviously I think it's wrong. The Raiders feel like they can be competitive this year. They're not trading him in the offseason because then that means they're giving up on this season already. You don't trade your number one wide receiver when your quarterback, whoever the hell it's going to be out of these two knuckleheads, needs all the help they can get. So I highly doubt it. And, Devontae said the right things. I'm all in. But he was a little cheeky about it. He said, I'm all in with the Raiders, but I would play with Aaron Rodgers again. If there was one place I was going to go, it's with Aaron Rodgers. So the only way I see it happening is, and I've talked to you about this, I think your bye week is week 10 or something like that. So, and you have a hard schedule. Mm-hmm. You have a very hard schedule. The 3 games leading into bye weeks could easily be 3 straight losses or wins. Who knows? If you're at the bye week at 3-6, I think the Jets get him for a 3rd round pick. That's where I'm at. But that also needs the Jets to be competitive, which I think they should be on paper, but they never are. It needs them to be a buyer at the deadline. It also means that something has gone wrong with their wide receiver position. Lazard's a pile of trash. I don't expect him to be nothing more than a 4th or 5th wide receiver. Maybe Aaron Rodgers can fix him. You have Garrett Wilson. You have Mike Williams, who's super interesting, but coming off an injury. Corley could be a boss, but we have to wait and see. We have young guys from last year that, undrafted, came in and dominated in camp and are still with the team that maybe if Rodgers stays healthy can make them strong. So we might not need a wide receiver at that point if we're still in it. We might have other needs online like we always do. So I think if Rodgers plays another year, I think he's on the Jets next year. I think if the Jets really need wide receiver help and the Raiders season is done by the bye, he's on the Jets. He's gone next year no matter what from the Raiders, is my opinion.
Yeah.
And another guy that wants to get gone is Brandon Ayuk. What do you feel about that situation? Is he going to get paid or is he going to get shipped?
I think I kind of agree with one of our friends. I think he's getting bad advice. I don't think he's going about this the right way.
Work for his teammate.
Kind of like Saquon. Is that Saquon that took the deal first? Or is that Austin Eckler? remember when the running backs there were a few of them that were vocal. They wanted more money, and maybe it was Saquon that took the franchise tag or signed the tender first.
It wasn't like he did it right away. I mean, he definitely tried, but he signed it.
Yeah, I think, okay, we go back to the beginning of last year, the first 3 games. There was a lot of Niner fans saying, why isn't Kyle getting the ball to Ayuk more? Is he in the doghouse? Why is he on the sideline? Why isn't he playing more? And so I think that's probably been building for quite a while. When Ayuk came into the league, there was a practice situation where he had gotten into a fight. So there's an incident here, there's an incident there, right? And maybe he just doesn't feel like playing in Santa Clara anymore and wants to go to a different organization. He's been talking about going to the Commanders for months now, in some form or fashion. I saw this morning the new trade is the Raiders and the Niners swap Devontae for Ayuk straight up.
No.
Okay, where did that come from? July.
It doesn't make sense for the Niners.
No, the Niners would be getting older and have to pay more money.
And he could still leave next year, like unless it was like he would guaranteed he would, and maybe it would sign an extension. I don't even know if it can. But yeah, I don't see that happening. Hopefully, I want to do something maybe this weekend. I want to talk more about this, but I want to see if have you seen this recent NFL survey where they kind of poll executives, coaches, and scouts about the top people at all the different positions, and ESPN's been kind of rolling it out one a day for 11 days. It made a little news. So today was the cornerbacks. I'll just give you a little preview, and then I think we should just do a whole quick chat on it in a few days. But once they release all of them, in terms of quarterbacks, Mahomes number 1, Burrow, all that makes sense. My boy Aaron Rodgers actually made it into the top 10, which I think he can be top 10 if he's healthy this year easily with the weapons he has. If he was just outside of it, I can't fault them, but the executives probably feel that with the people around him, he can be big. The interesting thing on the quarterback front was Jalen Hurts was like number 12. So he wasn't even in the top 10. And then on the cornerback side, they did that today. And let me give you the top 3. You tell me if this is the right order. Pat Surtain, number 1, on a terrible Denver team. Denzel Ward, number 2, and Sauce Gardner, number 3.
It's pretty good.
Nah, Sauce number 1, baby.
Surtain
was number 1 last year in this same ranking. Ward made a massive jump. He was number 9 last year. Definitely had a good one last year. Sauce was number 2 last year. I would put him at number 2 this year, but it's whatever. I don't give a crap about any of these rankings. I need the Jets to win. I aim to do it soon. That's it. That's it, man.
I think
all right, man. Well,
should be top 10.
Yeah. That's it for today. Let's get together soon and do this again. A lot of fun.
I'll talk to you this weekend, buddy.
Yeah. Later.